This is a Ferrari 550 Maranello. Just 4 years ago, you could pick up a pretty decent used one of these for around $90,000. Right now, the average asking price for a Ferrari 550 Maranello coupe like this one on AutoTrader is $167,000. They seemingly shot up overnight, which begs the question, why? To find out, I've borrowed this 550 Maranello from a viewer who lives in New Jersey named Cyrus, who you should follow on Instagram by clicking the link below because, well, he's got a 550 Maranello. And right now I'm going to take you on a tour of it, and I'm going to show you all of its unusual quirks and weird features that only an Italian car can have. And then I'm going to take it out on the street and find out if this thing really drives like a $150,000 car. Of course, for more of my thoughts on it, click the link below to read my column on autotrader.com/oversteer. But before I get to the quirks, a brief overview. The 550 Maranello was sold from 1997 to 2001, and it replaced the Testarossa and 512 TR. It used a 480 horsepower V12 mated to a 6-speed manual transmission, and it did 0 to 60 in the low 4-second range. On paper, it was amazing. In practice, it had a lot of peculiarities. We'll start the quirks on the outside with one of the 550's most distinctive features, its front overhang. Now, here's my car. It has a normal front overhang. What is this? A few inches? The 550, on the other hand, this overhang is like 2 feet. Needless to say, you don't really want to be taking any speed bumps in one of these. Now, one of the other things you'll notice about the exterior is that this car doesn't really look like a Ferrari. It's not red, it's not crazy low to the ground or wide. The engine's in the front and not in the middle. That's because this car was intended to be more subtle, and this particular one was intended by the original owner to be more subtle still. It doesn't even have the fender shields on the side, which you see in almost every Ferrari. This person wanted their car to blend in. Now, a lot of people ask what the difference is between the 550 and the car that came after it, the 575, which looks quite similar. Well, there are a few ways you can tell them apart, but the major difference is up front. The 550 looks like it's smiling, and the 575 just looks like it's sort of... Now, moving on to the trunk, where there's another interesting quirk about this car. Now, there's no exterior keyhole on the trunk of a 550 Maranello, and there's no spot on the key fob where you can open the trunk. In fact, the only way to open the trunk in a 550 Maranello is a little electronic switch located on the center console. So you're thinking, well, what if you leave something or someone in the trunk of a 550 Maranello and they need to get out and the electronic switch doesn't work? Well, obviously Ferrari thought of that. They placed a little cord inside the trunk. All you have to do is pull it. Oh, it opens the fuel door. In other words, if you want to kidnap someone, 550 Maranello. Speaking of the center console switches, let's talk about them for a moment. On the left, you have the ASR switch. That one's obvious. It turns traction control off. Next to that, you have Sport. Why does a Ferrari V12 need a sport mode? I'm not really sure, but the next one's even more confusing. It's a blank switch. This car cost $250,000 when it was new. Why could it possibly have a blank switch? Moving on, you have the fog lights. Now, the fog light button is interesting because the fog lights are located there. The parking lights are located there. The headlights are located over here on the turn signal stalk, which means that you have 3 different places to look to put on 3 different sets of headlights. But then again, it's a Ferrari. You didn't really expect it to make sense, did you? I'll give you another example. The blank switch in the center, that would have been a great switch for the power locks. But Ferrari decided, nah, we'll leave that one blank. Instead, to activate the power locks, you just lock one of the doors and then the other one locks too. You want them unlocked? Just unlock one of the doors and then the other one locks too. So there's no lock switch in the car. You just kind of turn one of the door locks and the other one follows suit. Another unusual thing about this car, the climate control system. Now, in your car, you probably have a few different switches for the climate control. One that controls hot and cold, one that controls where the air comes out, and one that controls the intensity of the air. And this car has all that too, but it also has one button, if you want to turn off the climate controls, that's marked stop. So you can turn it to 0, but it's still not fully off. Instead, to turn it off, you also have to press stop. I'm not sure why that is, but remember, it's a Ferrari. Since I'm discussing the interior, time to talk about one of this car's most distinctive features. It's filled with factory carbon fiber. That's common now, but 20 years ago it was really rare, and there's carbon fiber on the door panels, carbon fiber on the door sills, carbon fiber on the parking brake boot. The sport seats are surrounded in carbon fiber, the shift knob is carbon fiber, the entire center console is made of carbon fiber, and even the gauges are surrounded by carbon fiber. It's really cool. Less cool is the rear parcel shelf, which is finished in acres of rather tacky-looking diamond stitching. Another interesting interior quirk, you get in this car and the first thing you try to do is reach for the seatbelt, except the seatbelt isn't over here. Instead, the sport seats in this car, the seatbelt actually goes through one of the holes in the seat for you to put it on. Just something I'm not sure I've ever seen before. And then we get to the single most annoying quirk of the 550 and all other Ferraris of this era. That would be the immobilizer. Now, if the doors are locked, you go to unlock them with the key fob. You then have to start the car within a certain amount of time or else the immobilizer kicks in, it won't start, and then you have to relock it, re-unlock it, and then you can start it. If the doors are unlocked when you approach the car, you have to relock it, then unlock it, get in and start it within the set amount of time, or the immobilizer kicks in and the car won't start. So it's been a while since I've unlocked the doors. I'm gonna give it a shot. Nothing. That means I have to relock the car, then re-unlock it to disable the immobilizer. And then, if I'm lucky... Yes! But of course, there are many reasons why you put up with all of those unusual quirks. One of them is this. But maybe the biggest reason this car is so rapidly rising in value is right here, the manual transmission. This is the last Ferrari V12 that came standard with a manual transmission. And while Ferrari made some stick shift examples of the 550's successor, the 575, they're few and far between. The same thing goes for the very few stick shift 599s that Ferrari made. Generally speaking, if you want a stick shift and a V12, the 550 is the most modern Ferrari that you can have. And in today's world of dual clutch automatics, old automatics feel slow and clunky, and they're expensive to fix. So more buyers are turning to stick shifts, which is causing their values to shoot up. But just how does it feel to get behind the wheel of a V12 powered stick shift Ferrari?
All right, driving the 550. This is very exciting. This is a very cool car. Surprisingly easy at low speeds. It doesn't feel jerky. The Testarossa was kind of lurchy. The Testarossa clearly did not want to be driven at low speeds. This car is a lot more usable in normal everyday driving. All right, getting out on the road. Oh, man, listen to that. Listen to that click into gear. It feels so good. I love that. There's nothing like shifting gears in a V12 car. Not a lot of people have the opportunity to do that. Easy downshifts, easy rev matching. The pedals are easy to figure out. And the clutch is heavy in this car, but it's not crazy heavy like it is in the Testarossa. And most importantly, it's linear, which is good. You don't want a clutch that has this weird kick thing. That's always really annoying. The pedal box is really small though. I can barely get my foot in. It rides very well. I mean, this is clearly not the mid-engine Ferrari. You know, when the public hears Ferrari, they just think of fast cars that are crazy and whatever. And there's actually different levels of Ferrari, and this one is for someone who's had a bunch of those mid-engine cars, and now they want something that's really fast and cool and all that still, but maybe it's not as high-strung as a mid-engine car. But when they really want to give it some gas, they can still do that and have some fun. Now, with that said, this car is still a blast around corners. One of the things I remember from driving these before is just how amazing it really feels, and boy, does it ever. It's just so flat. It's funny to think this car is 20 years old. Oh, listen to that. Yeah, the downshifts are so easy because the clutch is pretty easy to figure out, and the acceleration is linear, the pedal travel is linear. Gear sound. There's just something great about having the mechanical feel of the stick shift. And I've driven 575s with the F1 transmission, and they are so lurchy and so awkward. It really feels like driving a car with a learner driver who doesn't know how to drive a stick shift quite well enough yet. It is kind of nice to drive the car just normally, because it can do that. Like the 360 always felt very high strung. It was bumpy and you were really far forward in the car, and it was just a completely different experience. This thing still feels like a normal car unless you really don't want it to, and then you can just open it up and really cause a ruckus. I love how subtle it is. A lot of people, especially younger people, they want a Ferrari, they want something that really shows off and all that. That's not me. You know, when I had my 360, I just got so tired of the constant people talking to me, coming up to me and saying stuff to me.
Right.
It just got so annoying. This thing is for the people who want to have the Ferrari and kind of want that experience to themselves. Because you're only going to know this car if you know cars. And then it's fun to have the conversation with people. In this car, you just totally blend in a lot more, but you still have the same amazing Ferrari experience if you want it. I just love that I'm doing all this and I'm shifting gears. The experience is just so rare. Oh, that sound, that little blip. Oh, there's nothing like that. Oh. It is so flat around the corners and so composed. It feels like a modern exotic car in corners. And then you get on it, you floor it, and it feels like a modern exotic for speed. You know, I mean, the F12 seems like a very cool car. I've never driven one, but I would surrender a second 0 to 60 and still do 0 to 60 in 4, whatever this car does it is, in order to have this experience and this.
So there you go. The 550 is cool and subtle in a way that the screaming bright red mid-engine Ferraris just aren't. It has a lot of unusual Italian quirks and features, but most importantly, it offers modern V12 performance with a manual transmission. There are V12 Ferraris that are faster than this one, but they don't have that stick shift that everybody seems to want. And there are manual Ferraris, but they don't perform as well as the 550. Simply put, this car is the only one that marries true, amazing, modern-day V12 performance with the enjoyment of a manual transmission. Of course, these things are shooting up in value, and I suspect they're only going to continue to go up from here.